Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the Taft City Council Successor Agency Joint Regularly Scheduled Meeting for Tuesday, April 17th. As a courtesy to all, please turn off your cell phones or turn them to vibrate. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby at Taft City Hall, 209 East Kern Street, Taft, California, during normal business hours, courtesy of Senate Bill 343. We're going to begin this evening's meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by myself, followed by the invocation from Rodney Wyckoff. Rodney here?
Doesn't appear to be.
All right, you remove your hats, salute, and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You see Rodney? I would ask that Dr. Oren please come up here and help us out. If you're wondering what the volunteer of volunteers looks like, that would be Dr. Kathy Oren. Right.
Would you bow your heads with me, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the privilege of meeting together in this country. We thank you for the blessings that we've enjoyed, and we ask you to continue them. We also ask you to be with us this evening, to be with the City Council in a special way as they make decisions that affect so many of us. We thank you for your many blessings. Amen.
Amen. And I thank you, Dr. Oren. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Moore.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Here. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Fryer.
Here.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
All right. First item on this evening's agenda, lottery drawing for Safe and Sane fireworks stands 4th of July, 2018. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Each year, the city accepts applications from qualified nonprofit organizations to operate safe and sane fireworks stands pursuant to the City Code of Regulations, Title 4, Chapter 13. Out of the applications received for the lottery drawing, 4 will be selected, plus 1 alternate. A primary organization has multiple auxiliary or affiliated organizations. Only the first name drawn from that organization will be granted the license to operate, and the other no longer to be considered eligible. Organizations submitting applications for 2018 include Calvary Temple Music Department, Calvary Temple Children's Ministry, Taft Motorcycle Club, Taft Host Lions Club, Taft Midway Sunset Lions Club, Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation, Taft Sportsman's Club and Junior Division, and Revival Worship Center UPC of Taft.
Thanks, City Manager Jones. And I imagine several people picked up on the fact that you have the Taft Host Lion Club, Taft Midway Sunset Lions Club, and the Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation. I did ask the city manager, and I believe they have looked at this and vetted these. And there's a note, Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation operates under a separate federal tax ID number, and is a 501c3, whereas the club is a 501c4. So that list that you just heard all qualify for the opportunity.
All separate, yeah.
All right, very good then. So if you'll fold those up.
Okay. Calvary Temple Music Department. Calvary Temple Children's Ministry. Taft Motorcycle Club. Taft Host Lions Club. Taft Midway Sunset Lions Club. Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation. Taft Sportsman's Club and Junior Division. Revival Worship Center, UPC.
All right, thank you. So here we go. We're going to mix them up. All right, pick one. Go ahead. Councilman Cryer, pick one out here. All right. Open her up. Read it. What do you got?
Review Worship Center.
Revival Worship Center, UPC. Okay, so that's going to be first. Councilman Miller?
Taft Midway Sunset Lions Club.
Lions Club. Councilman Bryant?
Calvary Temple Children's Ministry.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
I'm trying to grab one here. Great.
Calvary Temple Music Department.
That one's not eligible?
That one's not?
Okay,
The first one's full.
I see. All right, so that one becomes ineligible.
I get to do it
All
again.
right, I'm gonna let you try it again.
Taft Host Lions Club.
Taft Host Lions Club.
Which is separate from the Taft.
All right, and I'll pick the alternate. Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation. Okay. Oh, I no longer have to hold that up, do I?
Resolution.
Thank you very much. Alternate. Okay, so we have the Revival Worship Center UPC of Taft. We have the Taft Midway Sunset Lions Club. We have the Calvary Temple Children's Ministry, Taft Host Lions Club, and the alternate is the Taft Midway Sunset Lions Foundation, for the record. All right, that all clear? Okay then. There you go. You can have the basket back. All right, so much for that. Next up, item number 2 is a presentation by Dr. Deborah Daniels, Taft College Bond Measure.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm Deb Daniels. I live at 817 Philippine Street, Taft. I'm a resident of Taft, and I come to you as a voter in the West Kern Community College District. And I thank you very much for allowing me to come here tonight to talk about Taft College's Measure C bond for the June election. I thought I would start first by giving you some context to community colleges. Community colleges, there are 114 community colleges in the state of California. California has the largest community college system in the United States. And also, because it's a state system, they control the tuition rates. Our tuition rate is $46 per unit, which is the lowest tuition rate in the United States. By comparison, at my former institution in Illinois, we charged $180 per unit. So it varies widely across the United States. So in California, as in all states, community colleges are divided into geographic districts. There are 72 geographic districts in the state of California, and this is Taft's district. I don't know why it looks like that, but that's it's a little less than 800 square miles of area, and our main population centers are, of course, Taft and Maricopa in our district. In California, there are single campus districts like ours, and there are multi-campus districts like our neighbor, Bakersfield, Kern Community College District, has 3 colleges within their district: Bakersfield College, Porterville, and Ridgecrest. And when you have a multi-college district, you have a chancellor as your head, and if you're a single college district, you have a superintendent president as the head. So that's basically how community colleges are divided up in the state of California. So our community college has, as all community colleges do, we have an impact to our local community. Our graduates make about 32% more than a high school graduate when they graduate from our campus. This results in about $415,000 more in income over their lifetime that they can spend in our area. All told, our impact of our graduates on our area is about $104.5 million Our college employs 577 full and part-time people that many live here, spend money here, and contribute to our economy. In 2004, the taxpayers or the voters approved a Measure A bond of just under $40 million for our district. And these projects are the projects that we were able to accomplish out of that. And we used this money and leveraged it with other money, state money and federal grant money. And the results of finishing all these projects is about $70 million. So we feel that we were good stewards of this money in completing these projects. Our last project is the Student Center. This is how it looks today, steel up as we continue the process. And this is what it'll look like when we finish our last project in our Measure A bond. And our new bond is for $50 million. And we often get asked, your campus looks so great, what else do you need? And so our first bond only went so far in our master plan to change our deteriorating buildings. And we were established in 1922, so we've been in practice and higher education for 96 years. So in that time, we've had a great reputation that has attracted a lot of students to our area. And unlike other buildings, either residential or commercial, a lot of feet come through our doors. And when you have a lot of use like that over time, it is very wearing on your facilities. Some buildings were built over 50 years that are still standing today and in use. And we have many portable facilities that have been in use for 25 to 30 years. Many of our classrooms are in portables still. We often get asked, why should we pay for maintenance? Why should we pay for maintenance of your buildings? Well, we spend a great deal of time and effort maintaining our buildings, and I feel our staff does a great job, and we leverage the money that we get in order to keep up our buildings. But when they're this old, as with any of your houses, when you have a roof that's over 25 years old, and the plumbing and those things, they start going up 35, 45, 50 years. They start to deteriorate beyond what you can do to maintain them. Why is our measure needed? So we have outdated academic and job training classrooms, and our labs need updating. Portables, and I guess the best example is our dental hygiene facility. Our dental hygiene program started in 1994, and it went into a portable building. And the portable was used. So it's been in service in that same facility for over 24 years. And in that time, dentistry has changed a great deal. Now, when you go to the dentist, they're looking at a computer, seeing your x-rays on a computer, and everybody's typing in your treatment into a computer right there beside your chair. In our facilities, we do not have the room to do that, so our students can't train on that new technology. We also don't have we are incapable of having the infrastructure in that building to allow for that many computers to be workable within that area. So this is a great example of the need that we have to continue one of our flagship programs. Additionally, we would like to add health programs and other technology programs, but we are out of space to do that. And without that space or the technology infrastructure, we can't even consider adding other programs. And another piece to that is that we're over capacity with our science lab. All health programs and technology programs, any transfer program to a four-year institution, you have to have a core of science classes with labs. And our labs are at capacity. So if we want to add health programs or add more students, we have to increase our science labs capacities. And we have inadequate athletic facilities. Our gym was built in early 1980s, and our fields are outdated. And in order to keep up, we need to acquire land and build some other facilities to accommodate the new league regulations. So here are some of the things that we would include in our $50 million Measure C bond: classrooms, computer infrastructure, campus security. All of these things go along with those new buildings. Expand parking. If you've been over the campus lately, we are out of parking. I have to park out by the street, so it's a good problem to have because we're growing and we're a very busy campus. And many times I get asked, how much will Measure C cost? Measure C will cost 2.5 cents per $100, or $25 for every $100,000 of assessed valuation is more understandable to those of us that own houses.
That's an annual cost. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, annual, yes, correctly. That is annual. And it's assessed tax value, property tax valuation, not what you could sell it through real estate. If we were to sell the bonds today on a 30-year bond, this is what we would project would cost a homeowner, 22.68 cents per $100,000. That's if we could sell them today for a 30-year bond. So this is about $1.89 a month per $100,000 of assessed valuation annually. There are taxpayer protections that are built into the law that we abide by. All Measure C funds stay local and benefit our students, meaning that the state can't take any of it off to Sacramento and spend it on something else. We have a mandatory audit annually for our finances and performances. An outside company has to audit our books and our performance. No funds can be spent on administrators' salaries or benefits or pensions. There is a required independent citizens oversight committee. So members of the community, your peers, our peers, look at our books and our performance on a quarterly basis. And we wrote into this measure that if we do not issue the debt in 15 years, we will cancel our authorization. This isn't something we had to do, but this is something we believed was important to do so that we don't obligate future voters that did not vote on this particular bond. And our Measure C is supported by the Kern County Taxpayers Association. We went through a very vigorous vetting process to get that stamp of approval. So we're very excited to take on this endeavor of Measure C. We look forward to working with our community to increase our economic impact and increase our impact to higher education. And I thank you for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You know, I'm sure there are some questions, Doctor, so if you don't mind hanging out, I'll start with Councilman Miller. Do you have any questions for Dr.?
Well, not really a question. I started Taft College in 1964, or 63, and wound up with after a year with a grade point average of 1.67. So it looked like college wasn't a career path for me, so I went in the Navy for 4 years, and I came back and returned to Taft College, made up those classes, and within a year I was at a 3.0 grade point average, and did finally graduate after I picked up a couple extra classes and got my AA degree. And I'm forever grateful for the professors and folks at the Taft College at that time that got me through. I remember going to Taft College, and it cost, I think, $12 for an ASB card. And that was it. There wasn't any tuition, and we had free books and or loaner books, and it was easy to go to Taft College. Well, it's not that way anymore. It's, I don't know, what is it a unit now?
$46
a unit now. So it's tough. When I went to Taft College, the buildings were old then too, and it's just an ongoing thing, and it's our time to support this measure and continue to make Taft College the jewel that it is for this community. There's all kinds of side benefits of having a college in our community, and it attracts a business, it attracts people, it attracts professionals, and that all contributes to our community and the growth of our community. So I'm very much for this. It's not it's $25 100,000 is $25 so most people can equate to $40, $50, $60, $70 a year, but the benefits that we get out of this far outweigh that basic cost that's going to be attached to your tax bill. So I want to thank you for coming tonight and making this presentation, and I hope the community gets behind it and supports it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Cryer?
Thank you, Mayor. Taft College is a jewel to our community. They have a lot to offer. They bring a lot of, like the Councilman was saying, it brings a lot of benefit to our city, and also a lot of money as far as for businesses here in town. You were saying that the money will not go to Sacramento, but will stay here in Taft. That's the same as all the other bonds that we passed before? Did Sacramento took part of it?
Yes, that was part of the law that guides us through our bonds.
How did you get around that wall for this one here? Is there something different or new? Or
No, I can't tell you when that law went into effect, but our Measure A bond was under Prop 39, which is the proposition that guides is the law that guides our measure.
I'm glad the money's going to stay here, and it'll be in good hands. And I too support the college for this bond, and it's going to create more opportunities for our town, and also more important for our future students when it's all implemented. And thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thank you.
Councilman Bryant?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. Daniels, thanks again for coming. We appreciate the explanation. I think everybody's going to touch on it, but Taft College is a diamond. I hate to say diamond in the rough because it's not the rough out here. I love this place. It's a diamond. A proud graduate of Taft College myself, class of 05. One thing I really do believe in is that the viability, sustainability, and growth of the city of Taft and the West Side overall is very much tied to Taft College. If for some reason Taft College was to fall by the wayside or to deteriorate, I think we all suffer. So not just the students and the staff there, but the entire West Side. So I think supporting this is something we should critically and very, very much support, at least think about supporting. One thing I was curious if you could add, you talked about all the people who do live here in the city of Taft who also work there. Do you happen to have a number on how many staff and faculty are residents of the city of Taft or the West Side?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I can't answer
That's
that
all right.
question.
I know there's a good number of them, which is a good thing, and I hope that the investments in the facilities would bring more. You talked about the student center. Mm-hmm. Was that funded through Measure A funds?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ETA on completing that?
It's currently scheduled to be finished the end of the year.
Okay. Very nice. End of the fiscal year or end of the calendar year?
Calendar year.
Okay. Very good. And just so there's other explanations here, can you give us some ideas outside of grant funding and tuition? How else is the college funded, if at all?
We are funded by property tax, state apportionment, and tuition.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Anyhow, again, I'm a proud graduate. I'm a proud supporter of Measure C, and I look forward to this stuff passing and the fruit that it will bear in the many years to come.
Thank you. I just add one statistic gets to your question.
Sure.
42% of our graduates stay locally. So I think
Proudly so.
It's a good number.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you. There's no disputing the need for this, and I am a supporter of this. However, I do have people asking questions. Are there other ways to get this money? And the money that we're being taxed, is that a guaranteed amount? It won't change in years as it goes does that change?
No, the $25 per $100,000 is the maximum that we can tax the taxpayers through the bond. So it is in the Prop 39 legislation.
And so the bond, a lot of people, truly I don't completely either. The bond is the best way and possibly the only way to get that kind of money for these kind of projects.
It is because the money that we get to run the college through tuition and state apportionment and our current taxing ability goes straight into operations. And we have a balanced budget every year, but we don't have extra,
I think the biggest concern people have that really don't listen to what you're saying here is when you start talking about throwing dollar on somebody's taxes, they get flustered. So I think the big thing is letting people really understand that it is only $25 per 100,000, and I think that calms the nerves on that.
Yes, I understand that as a taxpayer. We want to be as understanding and clear about our taxes, and we don't want to have unnecessary taxes.
That's all I have. Thank you.
If I might ask something, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
To answer a question a little bit, the only way that would change would be if a fluctuation on your assessed value changed. So if for some reason your property got reassessed or you
Right.
moved, you'd see something there. But
Yes, thank you for that. And I'll also say is that on Measure A, for instance, when we refinanced our bond to save like between $200,000 and $300,000 a year for the taxpayers, then that $25 went down to like $19.50 or something. So we do everything we can to mitigate that cost whenever possible.
All right, Dr. Daniels, the Measure A bond, you refinance that bond. When is that bond going to be paid out? How far down the road?
It's 2031.
2031. And currently that is, what's the debt, the per $100,000 annual debt on that bond, debt service?
Well, currently it's just under $20 per $100,000.
Okay, so just to be clear, so everybody out there is clear, until 2031, and that would be if you sold all those bonds. And also to be clear, because, let's say hypothetically, if indeed it's approved and you're approved for $50 million, that doesn't necessarily mean right away you're going to sell $50 million.
Correct, that
you
is
could
correct.
sell $15 million.
Exactly.
Or 20 or 25. If that is all that is necessary to continue with the growth that is planned, then after 15 years, like you said, then you will give up the ability to sell the rest of the bonds, so that the decisions made now by the people who are willing to tax themselves don't necessarily transfer to our children who might not want to tax themselves. So that the end game is in place, and that would prevent that.
Correct.
Okay. I will tell you one thing that I am always concerned about in state government, and this goes to Prop 30 and Prop 50. Prop 30 created a constitutionally protected funding source for K through 12. You familiar with that?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay, all right. Constitutionally protected funding source for K through 12. So everybody thought that meant there's going to be a great deal more money going into the classrooms, K through 12, if we pass Prop 30. Not so much, because what that did was create the constitutionally protected funding source. However, it was partially displaced such that the funding source that was already in place went into the general fund and got backdoored into CalSTRS. So part of that money that people voted on when they thought they're going to put all this new money into the classroom, that was not the case. Now, I am not a fan, nor do I approve of anything like that. That shell game business, I think, is unfair to the taxpayers, and I think transparency is critical. It's tantamount. So you and I talked about this, and I bring that up because for the sake of the audience out there, for people who might have the same question in their mind, do I know for certain, if I vote for this bond issue, that we are not displacing funds and somehow, some way through the back door, this ends up trying to fill the black hole that is unfunded liability in pensions funds? So I would ask you, ma'am, to please respond to that.
Certainly. Under Prop 39, which is the proposition that our election ballot is under, you cannot spend any of your bond money on any of that measure on pensions, benefits, or salaries. And it's the law.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well,
Well, one of the things about this bond measure is this is local taxpayers supporting a local project, and the money all stays here. And we can't always count on the state because you got to get in line and get on a list until your projects come up to be funding, and that can be way down the road. This is local taxpayers, local people taking care of a local jewel in our community. So that's us taking care of ourselves, and that's what I like about it.
all right. Any other questions? Anybody? Well, I thank you very much. I appreciate all the time that I had an opportunity to spend with you discussing this very same thing. And I will tell you, and I will tell the people out there that having looked this thing over very, very carefully, that I will support this measure on the ballot.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
again for coming before the council.
Thank you. I would like to acknowledge our board members that are here that support me and the college and of course, Measure C. Kathy Oren, Dr. Kathy Oren's here. And also want to, I think that's all. Oh, Billy. Hi, Billy. Billy White. I always have to look around because they come in after I go here. And I also want to acknowledge my staff who's here tonight to support me and the college in this endeavor. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. Have a nice evening. All right, next up. Next up, citizens request public comments. This is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. First up, Harvey Comstock, who wants to speak regarding the RV parking. If you will, please, for the record, your name and whether or not you're a resident.
Comstock, 7 Greyway, is in Taft, California.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I just need clarification, to be honest with you, because the way I read this, nobody's going to be able to park where they put in an RV area. You're stating that you won't be able to have your RV parked on the side of your house.
No, sir, that's not true.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be happy to clarify that
Okay,
for
good.
you. If I may, if you read that carefully, the second sentence in that paragraph says, of the ordinance and that you're reading, says an RV shall be parked alongside. I don't have it in front of me. Let's see. But it says shall indeed. So for point of clarification, thank you.
Okay,
Let me read this. Number 3, right there.
right.
It
Going
says,
down below.
recreational vehicles shall not be parked or stored within the front yard of any residential zone property. Such vehicles shall be parked or stored along the side yard, in the rear yard, or available parking area adjacent to an alleyway. Does that clarify your position, sir?
Okay, what if you have a driveway that's going in the front?
If you have a driveway that's going in the front.
front.
In your
Park
front
lot.
yard off
Yeah.
of a city street?
Yes,
Going up into your garage?
into the side yard.
Up into the side yard,
Yeah.
but not in front of your garage?
No, it's not in front of my garage.
If the driveway goes up into the side yard, that's where the RV park next to the building. Next
There.
to
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
There's your
okay.
garage, there's your driveway.
Let me help and let me help describe this. There's going to be a great deal of discussion regarding this. several issues come up when people park RVs, boats, trailers in front of their house. And some of these things, the city of Taft is not responsible for the Americans with Disabilities Act. Let's just say hypothetically, you back your boat up, back your trailer up, and the tongue of that interferes with the sidewalk. Now that if you were wheelchair bound, you would find that problematic. So we have to set up our ordinances such that we discourage that behavior, because just a little bit is a problem. The Americans with Disabilities Act sees to the rights of people who are disabled, and that is one of the critical issues regarding this. So that's one of them.
Well, I wasn't saying we'd be on the concrete at all in the front where people walk. It's on my own property, and it goes way back. So, I mean, I got a permit and put this RV slot in, and then I see this, so that's why I'm here, just to make
Okay.
sure it's still good. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, sir. All right, next up, Sandra Downey.
Sandra Downey, 420 Terrace Drive. I had a question. I have called the city 5 times, haven't got a response back, so that's why I'm here tonight. After the last council meeting, I think actually it was on Wednesday, the city went and painted where you put the flowers, you know, and the
Flower bed?
oil-filled stuff.
The flower beds on Center
Yeah.
Street. Or
There you go.
Planters
There you go.
on Center-
On Center
Okay,
Street.
all right, very good.
In my business is at 401 and 403 Center. They painted those red on my side and across the street. And at 6th Street, they painted those. But they did not paint the ones on 5th Street. So I'm wondering why they painted them on 4th and 6th and not on 5th. I have not been able to get an answer to that yet.
Well, I do not know that.
I figured you wouldn't.
City Manager Jones,
I
would you
think I
care
can
to address
answer
that?
I don't know for sure, but I do remember they're measuring some of the lane widths up there. I'm not aware of any 5 phone calls to City Hall. Normally I get messages for stuff like that.
It wasn't to you. They gave me to a different department.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. But I think that the lane width at 5th and Center, because of the way the flower beds are, we're trying to increase the area for parking there. And I believe that those areas along those flower beds out there actually allow enough lane width for people to drive by. So they were supposed to actually paint the parallel parking brackets there to create parking, but there was not enough room in the other areas. And when people park there, it impedes the 12-foot lane width. So it's
Which is
so
mandated by
Those
law.
planters,
No, I understand. I was just wondering why the difference.
those planters don't stick out as far out into the on 5th. They
On
don't
5th?
stick as far out into the
Oh,
traffic
street.
lane as the other
they
corners
bump out
do.
a
Okay.
little bit, I believe, on those 2 other blocks.
Okay. One other thing I did want to say was I appreciate that the new chief, I have seen a lot more police cars out during the day and at night, and I think that's wonderful. I think it's great that the public sees them out more and not everybody thinking they're sitting at the station. So I think that's a great thing that they're out.
Well,
and
he
about.
appreciates that feedback, which is why he's smiling. All right, well, thank you very much
No,
for letting us
we
know.
do
that.
appreciate it. We do. A lot of people will complain because they don't want them out, but the majority of us do.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, Jerry Livingston.
I brought a few things to help explain my concern. This is a Sharps holder. If you're diabetic or have other reasons for needing to take a drug, you're required to put your Sharps into a container like this. I have here, I think something like 10 of them. So I probably have somewhere around 750 to 1,000 needles in there. There was only 2 times a year when I can actually get rid of those if I don't go to Bakersfield here in Taft. I think that's a little bit of a concern when we're worried about drugs, because I'm certain that I'm one of the, not the only one, but I'm also certain not everyone actually does what I'm doing, which is holding on to all of these, trying to get to a proper disposal time. They have a household waste disposal time twice a year for 3 hours on a Saturday morning at the dump. That's the county department that handles that, I guess, is the household hazardous waste is what they're looking for, paint, that kind of thing. But my guess is, and I've talked to a few of the waste haulers, the needles still end up in the dump. Now, they probably would be anyways, but it would seem to me that we should make it easier for people to be able to dispose of this than only twice a year. Now, you all know my transportation is mostly a bike, so hauling them to Bakersfield is probably not my best bet, and that's usually only, if I understand, one location even in Bakersfield to be able to do this. Now, I know it's county that's been responsible for it, but I think it's a concern for the west side in that, like I said, there's almost 1,000 needles sitting in there. If I decided to throw them away, I'd have been throwing them away in the trash, making them available to anybody who might want to be doing intravenous drugs. While I don't have any particular diseases, I'm not sure that once they're in the trash, they don't actually carry those. So, I'm not sure what the city can do. I'm not asking you to solve the problem directly, but I think I should raise that because we do have a problem in this community with drug use anyways, and we shouldn't be doing things to make it easier for people to get the paraphernalia that might go with this.
Have you approached anybody in waste management at the county?
I actually have, and was told to go to Bakersfield.
Well, perhaps.
Yeah, come to us. Don't come out here.
When you
come
think
into
about the issues involving used needles, maybe staff could check with the Westside Healthcare District, because obviously they, as well as the doctor's offices in town, have to get rid of, properly dispose of similar waste, probably more often than twice a year. And then perhaps, and I'm just saying this, but something to look into, when the blood donor van comes into town, they too know how to properly handle these things. Maybe we could make that a part of a public service so that, like you say, we expand on the ability of the community to provide a safe way to dispose of those things much more often than twice a year. So those two things come to mind, and maybe we could look into that and see if we can indeed provide that.
All the health-related places in town, including our prison, because we generate needles out there as well, you do have to pay for a service. Mm-hmm. And we have a monthly contract with a company that comes out and charges us by how many pounds, I think, or however they measure it. We may be able to do something where we could put a drop-off place maybe close to the police department or something.
Let's take a look at that. That makes very good sense. Mm-hmm. So thank you for bringing that to the attention of the council.
One other thing just came to mind, which is we're told not to toss drugs into the waste stream by throwing them into the toilet. That's another thing. I'm not sure. Do we have any way for people to get rid of, or do they have the same issue?
The county does once a year.
Same thing. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing about that. And
certainly,
that's one of the things we can do to help people.
We have a lot of seniors that can't make it to Bakersfield to get rid of that sort of thing.
All right, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, next up, Dr. Warren.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I want to kind of set you up for the next few sit and sips, because I told you last time I was here that sit and sips are heating up because we have elections. So tomorrow we're having a wonderful time with Superintendent David Couch, and I'm very sad to say that he will no longer be our supervisor, but I'm hoping that people will come to get firsthand from him how the redistricting and how we lost him. So he will be available tomorrow at Sit and Sip, and I hope you will join us. The week after that, the Mission of Bakersfield will be coming to answer questions about the program that they offer. And they offer their program for homeless folks in Bakersfield, but they will come to Taft and get people who need their services and will provide them. So there's a lot that can be done. I'm always irritated at the services always being in Bakersfield and people that need them being here. But this is one place where they will come and get folks. So they will be speaking to us the week following. Coming up after that, Justin Fleeman, who is running for county sheriff, will be visiting us May 2nd. Mrs. Reed, and I think her first name is Wendy. Am I correct?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Who is running in one of the Democrats that is running against Kevin McCarthy, who is.
I believe her name is Wendy.
Okay.
Wendy Reed, in the 23rd Congressional District.
Right. She will be coming to speak to us on May 9th. And then Chad Louie, who is running for one of the judge positions, will be coming May 16th. And Sheriff Donnie Youngblood will be coming to talk to us on May 30th. So it'll be a very interesting month or so at Sit and Sips. Our car show is coming May 5th. That's going to be pretty exciting, and we're getting a lot of entries, so we want people to remember that. May 5th is a Saturday. And I want to put a plug in for Rotary, even though it pains me, but they provide a wonderful service, and that is the Community Health Fair, and that happens at Buena Vista School this Saturday. And then in the evening, we will have the Taft High Hall of Fame, and we will be honoring the people that will be inducted: Jan Garrett Ashley, Larry Brown, and Dr. John Wood will be inducted posthumously. So those three folks will be inducted into the Taft High Hall of Fame. And I think that about does it. I should mention to you that I am part of the Taft College class of 68. That's a big space between my class and your class, Josh. I was kind of surprised. That gives you an idea of how long they've been around.
Big between you and I, though.
No, we are pretty close, yes.
I think Josh tried to get in 1970, but the classes were full. So like Dr. Daniels said, they need to expand. Okay, go.
Well, I just want to put a plug in. Taft College is a wonderful place. I was in Bakersfield today for a doctor's appointment, and the nurse looked and she goes, "You're from Taft?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "That's the home of Taft College." And I said, "Yes, it is." And she said, "My son went to Taft College and he loved every minute of it." She said, "Those are the nicest people there." And I said, "Well, I wish I could take credit for that, but I can't." But I said, "I'm thrilled." She said, "He is graduating next month and going into the military." And she said he couldn't have had a better education. So that was nice to hear.
Always nice.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Orman. Next up, Sherry Gregory.
Hi, and I wrote mine out so that I wouldn't get nervous and forget what I was going to say.
Put the mic down there. There you go.
Because I'm not as tall.
There you go.
No worries. All right.
Okay, and I'm here because I strongly oppose the proposed ordinance tonight that you're probably going to be voting on for the second time, restricting the use of parking limitations being set on homeowners. Anyway, it was made clear at the last council meeting, as we watched, not here, but at home, that you guys already had numerous questions and problems that were arising out of the way it was written in regards to the way it would be enforced, and it seemed very unclear as, like I say, the number of questions you guys asked, even though you were saying it was a side yard for Mr. Comstock, his actual cement area does protrude and is right, there's his front yard right there. So I do believe that the limits that the committee has in that proposal are unclear, and it needs to be revisited before it is actually approved. Secondly, I'd like to make a point that the laws also cover any protruding RV, truck, trailer, doesn't matter what it is. If you park it and it goes over the sidewalk, you are violating a law that already exists. So going in and adding additional stuff to a law that is already there, I think is unnecessary. And I really don't see having unnecessary laws on the books. Furthermore, there was also complaints last time about electrical cords going across the sidewalk or up and over. Those are also covered in laws regarding the use of electrical power. So again, that law doesn't need to come again in this new ordinance or this revamping of an ordinance. So I oppose. Somebody was standing up here saying, oh, don't worry about it, because if you get cited, you can come, we will talk it out, we'll figure out what to do, we'll work it out with you. I don't believe that ordinances and laws should be, if you get cited, you come, we'll work it out. I'm sorry, I believe it should be very clear to me as a homeowner and to the law enforcement person, code enforcement, whoever it is, that either you're violating the law or you're not. So I would ask that you look at this law, make sure that it's clear to the layman, to me, who's reading it, that I know whether my RV is parked in front of my home is okay if it's less than 72 hours, or I have a circular drive. Can I park it in my driveway? If not, can I do it for 72 hours, which technically that law is only on the street, not in front of my home. So I don't believe that nuisance should come into play in this particular ordinance. I think you should be very specific. And I also had one other comment. Many homeowners purchase property with RV parking and maybe nice long driveways so that they could park their trailers in front of their garage or in front of their home. And by now making a law where you can't park it in front of your driveway, even if you have 30 feet and you only have a 20-foot trailer, you've now taken away that right for us to park where we want to park. So therefore now my property value will decrease based on the fact that the RV parking may not be allowed as it was when we purchased our home. So there again, I laid out my reasons. I ask you not to vote to approve this ordinance at this time. I don't believe it's ready for approval. I believe there are way too many questions. Mr. Cryer had a lot of questions. And so that's what I have to say. Any questions?
All right. No, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, next up, Jerry Gregory.
Imagine that. How you doing? Obviously, I do oppose this, and not because I oppose having the RVs. It's the way it was written, the way things are handled. Mr. Knorr, your comment earlier about you don't like fake government or whatever, that comes back to this, like Sherry was just elaborating. There's so many laws, ordinances already on the books. They're already covered. Don't make it confusing. Don't make it convoluted so people don't know what's going on. Don't make a police officer that comes to my house that he's interpreting what he thinks or she thinks. We had that several years ago. They came and said, I'm coming yours because that's not a driveway. I said, how do you figure your driveway is not there? Well, your driveway goes into your garage. I said, no, I took out a palm tree years ago so I could have a driveway to go to my backyard, my side yard. So that is my RV parking. So again, confusion. Secondly, I would like to say I really appreciate the video because that makes council meetings on all public record. So things that are said now can be used in court if it ever has to go to that point. That being said, also, I thank you, Mr. Cryer, for clarifying because my driveway is very similar to yours, so I know I'm okay. It doesn't affect me directly. That being said, it just needs to be cleared up. There is another city ordinance on the books as we speak that covers the sidewalks, protruding across sidewalks. I don't remember the number. I went back and researched it this morning. Also, there are laws that you can't cross and block it back, like you're saying, to 88. So those are all in the books. We took a drive around this afternoon, and I think I saw 2 trailers protruding across the sidewalks. However, I saw unlimited trucks, cars, everything else protruding across the sidewalks. They're just as much of a hazard as anything else. You talked about the occupancy, long-term occupancy, and having the people living in an RV. That's already covered with R1. You can't have multiple people living in one residential area. So that's covered. You don't need another law for that. Enforce what's already on the books. Mr. Miller spoke about someone may not like the appearance. You like the looks of your motorhome or your RV, somebody else may not. Unfortunately, nuisance law is very clear. Aesthetics is not covered by nuisance. Nuisance is covered by the activity, which noise or something like that, or conditions, odors, smokes, whatever. It's not by appearance, by a physical appearance. That doesn't cover nuisance. The city council went back and covered that years back with weed abatement. People don't take care of the yards, so now you have to do weed abatement. That would have been aesthetics. You can't say, I don't like the way it looks, so it's a nuisance. Let's see. You talked about the 72-hour deals. Sherry touched on that also. That's based on street parking and all that. Mayor Hill mentioned that people used to move around. You do this, people will have no other options but now to move them all around, start moving stuff. That's not what you want. Address it and make it clean and simple. Let's see, what else? My biggest thing, if you got something that's not working, get rid of it. You should have your people going back, getting rid of these old ordinances that don't make sense, that aren't being utilized anyway. Clean them up, make them simple. Don't have 100 pages of city ordinances that aren't used anyway. What we saw in the drive is covered. Anyway, I know it's not making a difference. You guys have obviously got your mind made what you're going to do. You're going to pass it and go forward. I would strongly urge you to go back, have it reconsidered, have it rewritten. If Mark is here, I didn't see. I would say I appreciate the fact he did take 2 paragraphs out of the ordinance last time to put this in, but he took 2 paragraphs out and put about 10 in. That's not helping things, making it very confusing again. Anyway, my statement.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, that's the last one for this evening. Next up, item number 4, council statements, non-action. I'm going to begin with Mayor Pro Tem Hill this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I would just like to recognize the passing of former First Lady Barbara Bush. I always felt that her strength and leadership was something that we could all learn from, and she was my very favorite First Lady, and I loved her dearly, and she was a true inspiration and truly a lady. So I just want everybody to kind of have a little prayer in the back of their mind for the fact that their family has a great loss tonight.
I'll agree. All right, thank you. Councilmember Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the folks who came out and spoke on the ordinance. I really appreciate that insight and perspective because often we don't get that. Not that we don't have insights from the city staff, but hearing folks of the public voice their opinion in that regard is very, very helpful. So thank you. I did have the privilege of representing the council on the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee at our meeting last Thursday, the 12th. One of the prime topics that we discussed was ultimately, well, first our contract from the previous council meeting that we approved with Retail Strategies to talk about retail development and economic development here in the city of Taft. And I look very much forward for those folks to be here to present, as well as the fruit that will bear hopefully over the next 24 to 48 months. But one thing we did touch on was how we are presenting ourselves as a city. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about marketing materials, how we're going out and acquiring folks to come to Taft, telling them how great we are, but also how we are presenting ourselves to each other and to folks who are passersby. And I mean that in the form of written materials, cleanliness, signage, and things of that nature. And so we really want to focus on certain areas in the town or across the town, of course, but areas where there's high traffic and we can present ourselves in a very favorable manner. One of the things that I was very, very happy and very proud to be a part of as far as the high school goes is on the 12th we had the representatives or a group of kids from the Oil Tech Academy led by Ted Pendergrass and also helped by city staff with City Manager Jones and Mr. Staples as well as Ms. Perry. They did a great cleanup downtown. They spent almost all day walking along Center Street and as well as the alleys on North and between North and Center, Main and Center, and North and Center, doing a lot of cleanup. I really appreciate their time and their efforts because they did that on their own volition. They didn't have to do it, and they benefited us all. So I want to say thank you publicly to those folks, even after talking to Ted before that. We need to do more of that individually. You know, I go around town today, right along Kern Street, for instance. You've got areas of grass that need weed abatement terribly. Generally, there's trash in some of the areas of the street, or in some of the areas of public view that we need to clean up. We need to take care of our own selves, keep our own house clean, and then do what we can to help out others to make sure we're presenting ourselves to folks who may not call this place home, and for the enjoyment of the folks who do call it home. Let's see here. Mr. Mayor, I think that's all I've got, but thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilman Fryer.
Thank you, Mayor. Like everything else, there's so much going on in Taft. Can't be bored. You've heard from many people here, all different activities happening. Like Kathy Warren of the Chamber of Commerce saying that the Rotary Club is doing a health fair coming up on the 21st this weekend on a Saturday. We do this every year. Yes, I'm a Rotarian. I'm proud of it, and I think we have a great camaraderie with the Kiwanis Club. We like to, tease each other and have fun. But it's been put on by Dr. Tang for quite a few years. Dr. Tang is a locally known doctor here. He's been here for many, many years. He does a lot of great things, and one of his deal is he puts on a health fair where he has doctors for all different principles. And it's all free. Some of it costs a little bit of money for blood tests and a few other things, but most of it's all free. And I encourage everybody to go there this Saturday at Buena Vista High School, right there on 900 North 10th Street, and participate. I think you'll have a great time and money well spent, and hopefully take advantage of all the different things that they offer there for you. And Thursday on the 26th, there's Coffee with a Cop at the Taco Bell on Kern Street from 9 to whatever. Everybody has their questions asked or problems answered or any complaints they may have, and enlighten each other there. It's an opportunity for people to get together and explore, because right now the police department, they do a good job, but the perception there is that they're there to get you. They're not there to get you. They're out there, protection. They're out there for to protect you and all that. So I encourage you all to go there on Thursday morning. Myself personally, I wish I had one in the evening. I wouldn't want to call it, beer with the cop, but I would like to have something else, for the evening for the people who are working, at the end of the day. But something like that would be nice. Once in a while, have one in the evening. Another thing too, I'm a part of is a Fort Preservation Society. It's having a beer and wine tasting. It goes on the next Thursday, not this Thursday, but the following Thursday, on the 26th, and it'd be from 5 to 9 p.m. There'll be food there. There'll be prizes, drawings. The Taft High School band, jazz band, will be there playing for the entertainment. It'll be good to go in there and support the high school there and listen to the good music. At the same time, have some fun. The tickets there are $25 in advance and $30 at the door. Just like I say, there's lots going on in this town. Another thing I'm going to have is called a Believe It or Not deal. There's a bill being passed at our assembly that's going to ban natural gas. I didn't believe it. And I'm sure some of our council members didn't believe it until I kind of showed it to them. But it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. But it's going to be over a period of time. They're saying that get to zero emission, you can't have natural gas. So if you have a stove that uses natural gas, you'd be grandfathered in, but you buy a new home, which will be shortly, in a couple of years, it does pass, this year 2022, you will have to, the homes will be built without natural gas. A lot of restaurants can't have natural gas. Eventually, they're going to have to phase out natural gas at the regular businesses, eventually into electric. But that doesn't make sense, because gas heats up instantly, turns off instantly, and it's cheap. Electric, if you go in a restaurant cook, you turn it on, you got to wait 15-20 minutes. And you just can't, turn it off, turn it on, generate the deal. So to me, it's going to cost more money, less efficient. And how do you make electricity? Natural gas. So what's it accomplishing? But what's it accomplishing? So look out for it, and maybe at a later time we need to write letters in order to or its approval of it. I'll bring it up in a future agenda request to bring it out, because I think it's going to affect our city, affect our businesses, and our industry that uses gas and natural gas in their operation of their business. And another, believe it or not, I brought this up several times. I'm on the board of Kern Cog. It's been going on for the last couple of years, but it's getting more heated now. They are now going to try to abolish internal combustion engine, but it's over a period of time. If it does passes, but right now there's still a lot of people protesting. There's a lot of different organizations writing letters and doing different things to voice their opinions about it. But they are going to try to phase out registration, sale and registration of internal combustion engines. So at that point, you're going to be able to have vehicles anymore by the year 2040. They'll be phased out. I hope I'm still alive there by then, but it's down a road a ways, but they make people forget about it. You know, like anything else, they make a law, goes here, but they try to step mill it over time. People forget when it passes. That's not going to affect me. I'd be too old to worry about when we drive no more or whatever, but it affects our future, it affects our kids, it affects our industry as far as trucking, hauling, tractors, transportation for our domestic use. It affects everything in our city, in our county, in our state. And why is California doing it? We'll keep voting the same legislatures in there. I think we need a change, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilman Miller.
Yeah, it's kind of funny about switching from natural gas to electric, and if all of our home appliances are now going to be electric, isn't it kind of funny that when I got solar on the house about 4 years ago, the kilowatt hour was about 18 cents. Now they want to charge, or are charging, between 4 and 9 p.m., and that's kind of prime cooking hours, doing your laundry when you get home from work and all that. Now they want 36 cents per kilowatt hour. Funny how that's all kind of coming together.
You got to pay for that infrastructure, don't they?
Yeah. And Jerry mentioned about having talking to Waste Management, and they wanted you to come over there to talk to them. To better serve our Taft area or West Side area constituents, come to Bakersfield. They're a government agency. They certainly aren't going to come out to here and to serve us and find out what's going on and check in with the community and maybe understand that there is an issue, and the ideas that the mayor brought up were just excellent. I mean, hey, why can't we get these entities together and figure something out? Because you're not the only one that has the sharps, and it's a deal. My last statement is, I think we're now finally realizing the gas tax is kicking in. Price of gas has just been really, really, really creeping up, and plus with the summer blend and the maintenance of shutting down a few key not distilleries, refineries. Maybe we need distilleries. So we're just really seeing what our legislature and the governor has done to us. So you're hitting you right square in the pocketbook. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Miller. The ordinance proposed for travel trailers, motor homes, and the like is an effort actually to clarify things. It's kind of ironic when you think about it, but it doesn't make it clear from my specific house, my specific lot, my specific layout. Well, if we created an ordinance, any ordinance within this city or any other city that answered every single specific question for every single individual property, it would be this thick. It would go on forever. So try to make it simple, yet make it clear to each and every person for every single individual piece of property is kind of a difficult process. We tried to find a middle ground and then give everybody, and everybody has the capability to come comment and ask questions. This is a very easy place to get to. When we started this meeting, I read, and it's at the top of every one of these agendas, people. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on this agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby of Taft City Hall during normal business hours because of Senate Bill 343. This draft ordinance, which, by the way, this was agendized twice at the Planning Commission level and spoke about and talked about and debated in the Planning Commission, then brought forward to the City Council, and it was agendized and for a first reading, and then here we are again. It was also available right there in the lobby of City Hall. And all one need do is come in and ask, I want to read that. I am alarmed. I read something on Facebook that said I can no longer park my motorhome. Do not take what you hear or read on Facebook at face value. People, don't do it. There is nobody out there vetting the authors of all of that stuff. And because you read it on somebody's Facebook page, and then again you read it also on Mother Teresa's Facebook page and on Elvis Presley's Facebook page, that doesn't mean that 3 people concur that it's indeed a fact. You can come into City Hall for no money. There are 2 comfortable chairs and a table right there, and sit down and read it. It's your government. Just sit down and read it. So I would encourage you. You spoke of watching the city council meetings on TV. That is why we do this. It's an investment. There are people that cannot get away from home, period. People have to stay at home. This is their government. This is your government. So I'm glad you're able to watch that and take advantage of that opportunity. If you don't watch TV, by all means, please come in and read these things or ask somebody. But do not automatically think that government or any municipality is governed through social media, because it doesn't work. All right? That was demonstrated last week. It doesn't work. So I would encourage you. I thank you all for being a part of the government process. It's your government. It's your city. We will do everything we can to try to make it clear to everybody. But if we cannot, in the form of an ordinance, because it would make a very large document, then come on in and we'll discuss those things. Truly. That's all I have. Next up, Planning Commission report. We have a Planning Commissioner available right here.
Well, it was a relatively light Planning Commission agenda. We had a presentation from Blair Knox, the executive in charge of LAFCO, giving us a little bit of rundown on anything that might be coming up in the next, year or two regarding the possibilities of annexations. The Planning Commission does have
ad hoc committee.
Ad hoc committee, yes. I think it's the city councils, actually. That's why I was stuttering there for a second. But there is a committee that looks at that idea to see if there are properties. And so we had a presentation for us, at least, regarding LAFCO. We also approved 2 designated days, one of them which has already passed. It was on the 12th for Earth Day. And upcoming is Arbor Day, which is actually the one that we kind of favor anyway. So on the 26th, I'm seeing 2018 and calling it 20. On the 26th, between 10 and 12 at April, this coming 26th, Thursday, the Taft Community Garden and Taft City Schools District and the city will be putting on again another Arbor Day event, giving an opportunity for some of Taft's grade school children to come and learn about gardening and such. There will be a tree planting also. We haven't figured out where the location is yet, or it's undisclosed is what I'm told. So there'll be an opportunity to participate in that, both for any of the people in the community who'd like to. Arbor Day, of course, is a long time designated holiday for doing exactly that, planting trees. So we try to honor that every year as well. That was actually a light meeting for us. So any questions? Be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much for coming up and letting us know. Thanks for the presentation. Next up, City Manager statement. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to point out a couple of public works projects that are going to be started in the next couple of weeks. We have the CDBG sidewalk project that are on the south streets between Front Street and Oak Street, between South 6th and South 10th. There's a neighborhood pocket in there, and we were able to get nearly $1 million in grant funding that we've been working on for a while now, but it's finally ready to start. We've named RC Becker as the low bidder of the project, and they have been issued a notice to proceed. We're having a meeting tomorrow, a pre-construction meeting out in the field, so folks will see that happening up in the neighborhood. And we also, probably within a month or so, should be starting the same type of project on 6th Street between Kern Street and Center Street, kind of cleaning up all those pedestrian obstacles and old driveways and such that are not ADA accessible. So,
all right.
2 projects there, and hopefully we'll have some more to come.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Did I skip over department reports? Were there any department reports? None? All right, I didn't. If I did, I beg your pardon. All right, next up, city attorney statements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No statement.
No statement this evening, all right. Future agenda requests. Ladies and gentlemen, do we have any future agenda requests this evening?
I do, Mr. Mayor. I've got two
Yes.
items. At our meeting last Thursday of the Economic Development Ad Hoc Committee, one, we talked about the acceptance and approval of the CPAT program through the American Planners Association. We've been accepted. So we submitted our application. It was accepted. We expect those folks to be on site sometime in May, maybe early June for an initial assessment with a follow-up and a full project start late summer. But part of our economic development activity was in regard to signage, and something we had added to our 17-18 budget was to do some specific signage within the city limits. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring that to council to ask that we maybe switch gears on the types of signage, not necessarily the dollar figure unless we go down, but the types of signage for 17-18 and then postponing the 17-18 project we had planned to a future budget year.
Concur.
All right. Well,
I have some understanding of what he's talking about, so we could probably.
okay, would you like to clarify that?
Well, we had the budget we had set aside for signage. Some of that included Public Works doing some of the labor. We had some issues with some employees, had some long-term absences. We had some things happen, and they had projects that they're not going to be able to finish before the budget's concluded this year. And I think what Councilman Bryant's pointing out, that there are some other signage that was lower on the priority list, but still a priority that we can move forward on without using city staff as much for the labor.
Because of these public works projects.
Public works projects. So we plan on doing them at another budget year, but just kind of swap.
Just kind of flip-flopping them.
But just so an informational item to let the council know what exactly we're switching the projects to.
Okay, well, let's bring it back for the council so that we can all get boned up on just exactly what it is we're looking at now, because obviously our critical path has changed based on current assets, and we can make a decision in that regard. All right. Very good. Thank you. You had enough?
I do. I was curious if we could get some type of study session or update on the current activities of county public works, or not public works, excuse me, code enforcement and animal control in the areas immediately surrounding the city. Obviously, we've got some issues that the city of Taft cannot address directly. What I'd like to know is what the county is doing to enforce their regulations, because those immediately impact us appearance-wise.
So you want a presentation by the county regarding what they're doing in unincorporated areas?
Ideally, yes, but I don't think that's going to be a likelihood. So some type of information
well, if
back
we go over
from
there, maybe we'll get some action. Getting them over here is the problem.
Yeah,
True. I would like to have maybe city staff reach out to our district supervisor then, whether it's the current district supervisor or the incoming district supervisor, to ask for some details on what activities they are actually currently funding and currently acting on with that funding by way of code enforcement and animal control activity.
I concur.
All we can do is make the request. All right.
I will point out that I this very day I requested some information related to county code enforcement, and there's kind of, because of the redistricting, there's a lot of confusion.
There's a lot of shakeup going on, and I have a funny feeling that the replacement and the shakeup is going to take their time and their resources for some time. However, since we have a request and a concurrence, all we can do is make the request, and I'm sure they will respond in a timely manner based on their critical path.
Thank you.
All right. Any others? All right. Hearing none. Moving forward. Consent calendar items 10 through 15. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no specific discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. These are items number 10, the minutes of the April 3rd, 2018 regular meeting. Item number 11, zoning ordinance amendment number 2016-24, drive-through businesses. Recommendation is a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2016-24, an amendment of sections 6-12-15, 6-5-3, and 6-6-3 of Title VI of the Taft Municipal Code regarding drive-through businesses. Item number 12, zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-09, recreational vehicle occupancy, parking, and storage. Recommendation is a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Taft approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-09, adding a new section to Chapter 12 of Title VI of the Taft Municipal Code regarding recreational vehicle occupancy, parking, and storage. Item 13 is an MOU between Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services and City of Taft Police Department for implementation of the SMART 911. Recommendation is a motion to approve the MOU with Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services for the implementation of SMART 911 Special Needs Registry and allow the police chief to sign the MOU. Item 14 is a rate increase for trash collection services. Recommendation is a motion to increase the contract with West Side Waste Management in the amount of 4% beginning July the 1st, 2018. And then finally, item 15, SB1 City of Taft project for fiscal 18-19. Recommendation is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft adopting a list of projects funded by SB1, the Road Repair and Accountability Act. Does any council member wish to remove any items from the consent calendar?
I'd like to remove 12 and 14.
12 and 14. All right. Any other items? Hearing none at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 10, 11, 13, and 15.
Motion.
Second.
A motion is second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor North.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you. All right, next up, item number 12, zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-09, recreational vehicle occupancy, parking, and storage. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. On January 17, 2018, the Planning Commission recommended approval to the City Council of zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-9-09 regarding recreational vehicle occupancy, parking, and storage. The Planning Director presented a draft new section 612-20 to the Planning Commission, which contains standards for residential properties that have recreational vehicles, fifth wheels, and other similar vehicles. It establishes such vehicles should not be parked in the front yard, but stored alongside side yards, rear yards, available parking on off of alleyways. A prohibited uses section establishes a section, standards, and conditional use permit application needed for recreational vehicles, mobile homes, and other temporary housing that may be needed on industrial, agricultural, or other similar land uses. Furthermore, a Section D was added to identify recreational vehicles being subject to city's vehicle nuisance standards in Section 4.1 of Title III of Taft Municipal Code.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and amend the City of Taft Municipal Code entitled An Ordinance to the City Council of the City of Taft approving zoning ordinance amendment number 2017-09, adding a new section to Chapter 12 of Title VI of the Taft Municipal Code regarding recreational vehicle occupancy, parking, and storage.
Motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. Councilmember Cryer, you asked that this be removed from the consent calendar, and you made the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a citizen, I might say I had lots of people come to me. I had maybe, one from one side, one from another, had a nice discussion and stuff. And he had a question as well. I've been complaining several times about the trailer on my street, parked there. I made several complaints, but nothing been done. I can probably mention in private who the individual is, but what is a law if it's not enforced? If it's not enforced, how come a law on there? And we need to do, I know we have a lot of resources, crime is number one, just down the pecking order a little bit, but if somebody complained or something, about a nuisance, if it is about a trailer or about a dog or about anything, it was not being taken seriously, I guess you want to find the right word for it. What would be the protocol on a, say, like right now we're talking about our amendment, we're going and revise it and stuff. How do we enforce that as far as getting what we pass it being taken care of? That's a question I have. And the other on the other side of the fence, the guy had a trailer and he can't afford it, afford it and stuff, and all kind of excuses. And I talked to him. It made sense, and he understood. But it took a while to talk to the gentleman about it. But it's a tough deal for a lot of people. It's got to be clear, like the people here. It's got to be made clear and simple, and but enforceable. That's my comment on that. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Bryant, I believe you had the second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My view on this is very simple. If you're not impeding public property, public right-of-way, your RV is not being utilized or lived in while it's parked on your property, it's not kept like a nuisance, or not like a nuisance car, like a junk car. There's weeds or things that are not being abated about that or causing some type of other public hazard. It's adequately accommodated in your driveway, and it's not blocking your access to for your vehicles into your garage. I don't see an issue with it, and I believe that this ordinance addresses those items specifically. I would ask that if it does not, and as Mr. Gregory mentioned, if it's already covered by R1, if it's already covered by a separate ordinance, that we make sure and vet that that is not the case, and I would ask that if...
Copy board and be helpful fighting. I already found it.
Thank you very much.
Can we validate that? And I believe that city staff has spent the time to do that. If not, I would ask for clarification from the city manager.
The R1's covered under zoning code. It's not covered under city ordinance.
Thank you for that clarification.
And the ordinances are more for nuisances, like someone pulls a trailer up and just plugs it in and starts trying to live there, not like trying to establish a permanent residence.
Correct.
I will point out that the main intent of this ordinance is all, people occupying these trailers, either trying to be sneaky and doing it, but also has a lot to do with taking up off-street parking in your driveway. And if there is clarification to be added, I would just add that be added in there, that if you only have 2 places to park and you're taking it up with your RV, that means your car's on the street, which means we can't sweep your streets, which means your neighbor is not going to get his street swept because in front of the vehicle and behind the vehicle is a cut in and a cut out of the street sweeper. So it affects your neighbors too. And I think that's more of where the nuisance is coming from, is if you have a 70-foot driveway and you have a 20-foot trailer and you can park your 2 vehicles there, I don't think there's an issue.
Now, my question for you is, can we cite a homeowner based on a violation of a zoning ordinance? Or what is the city's remedy, or what is the taxpayer's remedy if someone starts going up against and not following a zoning ordinance? So in my home, let's say that R1, for instance, is a single-family dwelling, right? If I pull up my RV there and I don't have this ordinance in place, what is my recourse as a government agency?
Councilman Bryan, I'm going to restate your question to make sure I understand it correctly.
Sure.
You're asking if something's not covered by our municipal code, but it is covered by a zoning ordinance?
Correct.
What is in what manner would the city go about enforcing?
Correct.
I believe that our code enforcement officer has dealt with a number of those issues through citations, and there may be other manners of citing individuals for that as well. I would tell you that would be a pretty rare occasion, that normally everything is covered under our municipal code, and if it's not, then it's something that we take a look at and amend it accordingly.
Okay, very good. So it's atypical that we would cite based on a zoning ordinance, and more typical that we would codify that under city municipal code and then issue citations and violations of that.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right. Any additional discussion, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes. As far as the Gregories are concerned, being that I'm intimately familiar with the home that they live in, as I grew up in that house, and I did plant the tree that you cut down, I think you could put 6 mobile trailers in that property without being any problem. That's just my own personal opinion. I agree with Mr. Bryant. There has been a lot of debate about this. I think the biggest thing is enforcement. It doesn't matter what we put on the books for an ordinance. I don't care. When we discussed yard sales and when we discussed this, I don't think anybody goes out looking for somebody they don't like to enforce. It happens to be when somebody notices it as they're driving by or somebody complains about it. I think we all need to be very, very aware of the fact that we are causing an issue if we are impeding the sidewalk. That's ridiculous. You are not on your property. If you can't get your cars on there, you are causing an issue. And I think that everybody needs to calm down. This is nothing that much different than it used to be. If you can get your trailer or your boat on your property, you're not screwing up with the sidewalk, you're not causing a problem for your neighbors to park, the fire department can still see your address on the house, I think you're probably okay. I don't think this is as hot a topic as we're making it. I don't. There are still people that are going to push that. There's always people that's going to push the limit. But for the most part, most people abide by this rule and they respect it. The biggest thing we have to remember here is how are we going to enforce anything that we put on the books? If we do not have enough staff to enforce it, what's the point of putting it on there? And that is, there are a lot of people that were very upset because it just seems that this happened to be last week that people started putting tickets on motorhomes and trailers. Well, it might have just been that they happened to drive by and see it that week because this particular law doesn't even go into effect for 30 more days. So it's important to note that we weren't coming after you because of this particular law. They just happened to have somebody in code enforcement that probably drove by and noticed your particular motorhome. Excuse me. I don't think this is quite as hot a topic as we've made it, and that's just my opinion. But I think you need to be respectful of your neighbors when you have a piece of equipment that large.
All right. Thank you very much. Councilman Miller, any additional comments?
Yeah, I haven't gotten one call on this issue.
All right. Thank you very much.
I haven't talked to anybody about it, so it's obviously people I know haven't called me.
Lastly, as a
or
point of
people I don't know don't call me, so I haven't heard anything about it.
As a point of clarification, some of what's in these ordinances do exist. This is a clarification. This is the reason for this, a portion of it. So this is not all brand new, and it's being enforced, like Mayor Pro Tem said, after its second reading and voting and adoption. It does not become law for 30 days. All right?
I also, same what you're saying, this is a clarification. I don't believe there might be some redundancy in this, but you don't want to have an ordinance that tells you to refer to zoning section da-da-da-da, and zoning section da-da-da-da, when you can have it in the ordinance and without having to stop and go find information somewhere else. So if there was some redundancy in it, it's just making it clear and clarified that when you look at that ordinance, this is the reason why I can't do this.
That's correct.
So,
all right.
I'm assuming that's what staff built this ordinance up to do that. So.
Okay. I have a motion and I have a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Norton?
Yes, and I pass on a 5-0 vote. Thank you. Next up, item number 14, rate increase for trash collection services. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Taft extended its contract with Westside Waste Management July 1st, 2016 with the expiration date of June 30th, 2021. With no rate increase at the time. The current rate per contract is $27,833 monthly. The contract calls for an opener for increased negotiations this year. Staff met with Westside Waste Management in March and discussed an operational increase due to new fuel taxes, increase related to personnel costs. Staff recommends the city to increase the contract amount by 4% beginning July 1st, 2018, and there's an attachment with the historics of the contract.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I would entertain a motion to increase the contract with Westside Waste Management in the amount of 4% beginning July the 1st, 2018.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion, and I'm going to take Mayor Pro Tem second. Not to
Ladies first.
impugn your capabilities there, young fella. So the motion was made by Councilman Miller. The second was made by Mayor Pro Tem Hill. No, I'm sorry, now's not the time. Okay.
I'll defer to Councilman O'Brien.
Okay, this
Orchel, I mean, I'm sorry.
This item was removed from the consent calendar by Councilman Cryer. So, Councilman Cryer, you've been referred to. Why did you remove this, sir?
Thank you, Mayor. I was asking for clarification. I read here that the term agreement extends for 5 years to June 30th, 2021. That's on July 1st, 2016. This is the rate increase. Is it a new contract, or is this adding to the old contract because of the cost for fuel and labor?
This is within the current contract term, but the contract allowed for an opener for negotiations during that term. So we had negotiation talks. Staff feels that their increased request is fair based on the numbers. So
The contract was renewed July the 1st, 2011. So if you look on the last page. There.
I saw that.
Okay.
Current agreement extended for 5 years. It's June 30th, 2016. Then I look over here, the July 1st, 2016 term agreement extended 5 years to June 30th, 21.
Right. 5 years from 2016 is 21.
This is 2017.
Roger that.
contract still in effect. And
Right, okay. Then the question is, I know the cost of labor has gone up because of our gracious governor in our state, and also the cost of fuel and stuff. But we had some years that was kind of, fuel prices dropped down significantly, but we never got a rate decrease or anything during that time. How does Taft trash collection cost versus City of Bakersfield? Is it about ever right in line with them, or more?
That's two different contracts, and they do various types of different services. I would not know.
Okay. Yeah, I know that the West Side Waste, they do an awful lot for us in the community, and they do a tremendous amount of stuff, and I respect Hampton what he does and everything. I do own a lot of property in Bakersfield and stuff, and I see my trash and stuff's included in the taxes and stuff. And looking at it, it seems like the rate's a lot more reasonable in Bakersfield than it is here in Taft, but maybe the cost of transportation, could be other things that factor in here why it's more higher. That was kind of questioned. The main thing was about the 5 year years to June 30th.
You're talking about the rate you pay on your taxes?
Well, there's the same thing here in our property taxes, trash collections and our property taxes here in our city.
But that's, all I'm saying is this cost is not the only cost that's on your property tax. The refuse that you pay on your property tax for the city of Taft is for tipping fees, the weight of the trash that's going to the landfill. It also pays for certain types of city personnel.
Right, there's two taxes on there. There's two taxes, one for landfill and one for collection.
On your property tax?
Well, you're all here in
all of it comes into the refuse account, and then this contract is paid out.
The question I was wondering if we're in line, but I have no problem approving this, but I want to make sure that we're getting, just.
Well, I think looking historically at it, they haven't had an increase in 6 years, I believe.
If I may, and that's a good comment, because when you think about the cost of fuel, when the cost of fuel was at its highest, it actually peaked out probably in about 2014. 2014 is when the price of oil was around $100, $110 a barrel. So leading up to that, in 2012, they had not requested an increase. In 2013, it went up 2%. 2014, and I guarantee it was going up between 13 and 14. No increase was requested in 2014. 2015, no increase. 2016, no increase. Then they got the term of the agreement extended 5 years to June 30th on 2016. 2017, no increase. So there was no increase from the 2% that was granted 2013 through today. That's a substantial amount of time. And that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Given what took place in between then and now. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other comments regarding that?
Yes, I realize that 4% is not that much, but I think most people do get alarmed when anything goes up. Correct me where I'm wrong, but 4% is only going to be on the average bill about $4 or $5.
Well, we're not talking about increasing any of your taxes. This will be absorbed through what we're already collecting, which will come out of any reserve funds. Now, if the city so chooses that it can't meet its obligations with the current rates, it'll have to go out for Prop 218 to increase the rates. This has nothing to do
With
with anybody's rates.
This
no
is,
one-
this is what the city is paying.
Right, so basically what this is saying is that we, the individual, are not going to see this difference, but the city is.
At this time.
That's what I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Any other comments regarding? None? All right. Hearing none, we have a motion, a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Breyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes. That's got some final vote. Thank you very much. At this time, we did have on the agenda a couple of closed session items because we were led to believe that those issues were going to need to be discussed. However, at this point in time, that information has not come forward. Therefore, there will not be a closed session. Also, therefore, at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
I have two motions in 2 seconds. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.